Record on local. Okay. Welcome to Intro to Mac, Week 1. Welcome, Pablo and Shane. I will be recording this without you guys seeing the, no, I won't. I'm going to move this over here. Okay. This will just move on and off the screen as we need it. So, Intro to Mac. Shay, I know this is the first time I've seen you in here. Have you just gotten your MacBook? Oh, well, you were in perfect time. You're not in APP 101 yet, are you? Okay. Oh, you're going to have fun with this because I bet you're used to a PC person, right? Or PC? Okay. Well, the first thing we're going to cover tonight are your system preferences. And do you have your iTunes account set up yet? Okay. And is it connected to your Mac? Uh-huh. Okay. Well, in your system preferences, and I'm going to share my screen now. And your system preferences is going to be found in your applications folder down here at the bottom. It looks like a bunch of gears stuck together. Okay, I have mine pinned to my dock because I use it all the time for switching back and forth. So your iTunes account also connects you to iCloud. As we wait for my poor abused Mac. Okay, now this has an additional like iCloud space for you. So it's kind of like an external hard, or one of the cloud drive things. It's very, very useful. It will, say you're using multiple devices, like you have a MacBook, an iPad, an iPhone, or even running your iTunes account off of a PC. This will allow you to access some of those files and some of those needed pieces from one device to the next. Now, recently, go ahead. Uh-huh. If it's asking you for a password, you use the password that's for your computer, or it will ask you for like this one here. Is this the message you're getting? Okay, this wants your Apple ID password. Not your computer password. So I just type in my password. Now it tells me who I am. It lets me change my picture, and in order to change my picture, all I have to do is grab a picture from my images, stock images or whatever, and drag it and drop it into that area. So it kind of lets you personalize it. It lets my computer know how I want to be contacted. Lets me lock down my security, and I can change my password here instead of going into my Apple ID on the website and changing it there. This also controls. Okay, well, your keychain is a little bit different, and that's in a whole nother area. It's under System Utilities and your keychain access. Basically just stores all of your information that you tell it, I want to store this password for this place here. It is mostly for your web browsing, not for iTunes or iCloud. Now, if you want iCloud to keep track of that information, you have to click the keychain here, and that's where it's going to ask you for your iTunes account number, your iTunes password. Okay, does that make a little bit more sense? Okay. I don't really want it going from computer to computer to computer. I probably should, but safety-wise, with as many places as I have computers, seems like a risk I'm not willing to take. This piece here allows you to access your Mac from any other iCloud device. What I find most useful are the contacts, the calendars, and being able to look up my bookmarks from Safari. And there's also this nifty feature here that they've recently added called Manage Family. And it lets you have up to 5 people that can share your purchases from your iTunes account. So if you have some really cool apps that you want to share on your computer, or in my case, you have this huge video library, it allows my mother, who could be anywhere in the country, to access my iTunes movie library from her computer. So it's just a really nifty, cool feature that Mac has. I find it really useful because if she buys movies, I get to share them. So that's one of the main reasons that you have to have an iTunes account, is because of that iCloud. But it also helps keep you safe. If your Mac is stolen or lost and you have Find My Mac turned on, you can go find it from another device. This has come in very handy when my children lose their cell phone. The only problem is when they lose it under the bed and the batteries died, but it does tell me where the last known location was. So in my, I'll go back to my PowerPoint right here. So does that about cover why you need an iTunes account? Okay. Now let me guess, you really, really missed the right click on your PC, right? Okay. That's also going to be found in your system preferences. And it's under your trackpad. And I'm actually going to switch computers real quick, because you can tell I'm logged in twice. And I can show you how to set up the trackpad. Yay, my little MacBook is showing up now. Okay. Okay, so on your trackpad, if we click this, you'll notice that you have a secondary click here. And right now it says click with 2 fingers. If we click this drop-down menu and change it to click in bottom right corner, we've changed that. It now will let you do the right click by touching that bottom right corner. And you can see in the little exercise video, course, it would help if I stayed on it. You see, it's clicking that bottom right corner now. That gives you your right click back. You've got several other gestures in here that work really, really well on your trackpad. You've got scroll and zoom. And I turn natural off because it is actually, for some reason in the update from Mavericks to Yosemite, natural became reversed. So if you're not liking the way your trackpad is moving when you do the 2-finger slide, because that's an easy way to scroll, just come in here and turn off the natural. But I really like the zoom in and out. It works just like it would if you were on, say, an iPad or your iPhone. You pinch and squeeze to enlarge a picture. And you've got a couple of other gestures over here that are a lot of fun to play with. So they take a little bit of getting used to, so I highly recommend going in and playing with them. For the trackpad has its own little menu in your system preferences. So it's right here, it says trackpad. And then you'll have 3 tabs underneath it: point and click, scroll and zoom, and more. Now what's really cool is I can come over here and I can take 3 fingers with my thumb and it brings up my launch pad. So there are a lot of things in there that you really should go investigate and play with. And the only way to really understand them is to go in and just play. So we'll get back over here. So any questions on the trackpad so far? Yeah, it makes life a lot easier. I know there are some instructors who insist that you learn how to use the trackpad with the double finger click. I'm not one of them. And I'm pretty sure you're going to have me for APP 101 soon, and I am fully encouraging all of my students to go in and play. There is nothing that Command Z cannot fix, or an email to me or coming in to see IT can't fix. Command Z is undo. I've got a nifty cheat sheet of shortcuts I'll give you out in a little bit. So let's see. So we've gone over trackpad movements. You have some general settings that it's always good to go in and play around with. Your scroll bars you can change to show up whether they're in there all the time, when scrolling, or always. You can set your default web browser. And if you're using Safari as your default web browser for Canvas, you're going to notice that some things do not work correctly. It's just Canvas is not meant to work with Safari. It works much better with Firefox. So I save Safari for research and turn all homework and everything in with Firefox or Chrome. Yeah, so if one web browser isn't working, try the other one. We have a couple of other little options in here that are pretty cool. You have your desktop and screensaver, and you can make your own. If I'm using my 2 fingers right here to slide down and scroll. The photo wall and the photomobiles, all of these with photos, come out of your pictures folder. And your pictures folder is going to be probably right here in your Finder. I don't have a whole lot of pictures in here right now because this is my MacBook, not my iMac. So my iMac is full of pictures that are covered in roller derby stuff. But you can also create yourself a message, and you can tell it screensaver options. And my favorite one to put on here applies to my children. Mine, do not touch. I will chop off your fingers. Just saying, you know, I have teenagers that think they own everything, so they know I will never do it, but if my computer is threatening them, they tend to stay a little bit away from it. You can use your iTunes artwork, and I kind of discovered that the word of the day screensaver can be a lot of fun. It gives me a whole bunch of vocabulary words, and you know, that 5 minutes of staring at my screen for new vocabulary words, I'm going, I can confuse people with new words. Let's go for that. So that's your screensaver. And your desktop is where you decide where you want to put, say, a image for your desktop. So if I minimized everything here, you would see that I have a really great cartoon rendition of Wonder Woman. And you can customize those completely to your liking. I know that the school computers are now coming with a standardized photograph that's pretty boring, to say the least. It's all academically related. You guys can easily go in and change this in your system preferences. Because Yosemite actually has some really great ones. And if you're on a big iMac, you can change it for each desktop. So they're a lot of fun to play with. I highly recommend going in and change it. And you can tell it to change the picture every 30 minutes. But if you're in here in the Student Success Center, I recommend turning that off, especially if you're changing it on a, every 5 minutes or so. I do recommend changing that to turning it off, because if you're trying to share a screen with a learning coach, it gets a bit confusing and takes time away when your computer's trying to catch up with it. You see how mine's trying to redraw right now? Yeah, so if you're going to change it, make sure you turn it off before you come in here, because it'll save the learning coaches and instructors in here a little bit of time in trying to help you. Let's see here. What else have we got in our system preferences? So is your dock still at the bottom? Okay. And you see how my docks are all at the left side? That's because I'm right-handed. And I have mine set to the opposite side of my dominant hand because I kept turning everything on accidentally. Do you do that too? I have a really hard time with it. And let's see, I need to fix something here real quick because I just realized I am not recording the sound on my screen share so that everybody can hear it. There we go, because I'm trying to record this for the students in my APP 101 class that can't come in, and they can read questions, but they can't hear you if you're not talking to them.
Uh-oh,
Okay.
now you gotta go back and start over.
No, I don't have to start over. They have a question, they can email me.
Oh.
So with your dock, you have the option of putting it at the bottom of the screen, or if you're left-handed, you can put it at the right of the screen, and then you're not accidentally turning everything on. And for me, it became a real issue because I kept turning on Photoshop and then having to wait for my computer to catch up.
Ah.
So if you're noticing that you have my iMac holds like 30 different icons in it at one time, I don't need all of them to come on at once because I made the mistake of clicking the bottom. So I have it as far away from my screen as possible, far away from my dominant hand as possible, so I don't turn anything on inadvertently and then have to wait and wait. And then the spinning
What's
wheel of
the
death comes up.
minimize windows using Genie effect?
The Genie effect is I can double click. If I turned this, I could say I'm going to open up Firefox here, and it's already, I can come up here and double click it. Maybe it's here. And it minimizes. Well, it was supposed to minimize. So I don't really use this one, but I do use minimize windows into the application icon. And that's what you just saw happen.
Uh-huh.
It went, instead of adding more icons down here, it just moved it into the window that or into the application that I'm using.
Okay.
It keeps my desktop from being so cluttered and me forgetting where I put things. Then you have automatically hide and show the dock. See how it goes away?
Yes.
And then I hover over it and it comes back.
Yes.
I know a lot of students really, really like this. The learning coaches don't like it so much because we can't aim another person's computer very well. And when your dock is hidden, it makes their job a lot harder to try and switch between programs. Say if they need to see your instructions for your class and then switch back and forth to Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever it is you're working on, and they can't get the dock, it makes the job harder. So if you're going to use it for your own use, I would just turn it off when you come in here.
Okay.
Just to make life a little easier for the people who are trying to help you, because really they're here to help you. That's their main job, is customer service, helping you with your homework, and getting you exactly what you need out of a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And they can spend a lot more time one-on-one with you than the instructors can.
Right.
And they have a lot of tips and tricks to share with you that they don't always have time to get to in a lecture. Like Pablo coming in tonight to learn how to get music to go across slides. He was in my APP 101 mod or class last night and did an excellent job, but I didn't have time to go over those tips and tricks with him during the live lectures because we're only allotted a certain amount of time for our lectures. And your
Right.
guys' time is valuable, and so is your instructors. So we're trying to get you as much information in a compact time as possible. So coming in here, hanging out, and learning from the learning coaches is a great way to add to your knowledge base.
Okay.
Let's see here. Mission control. That's something you can go in and play around with. And it's, let's see if I can do this. Yeah, it's a 3-finger swipe, and it brings up some apps that you can add. So I've got my weather, a calculator, the calendar, and a clock for different time zones. So if I needed to, and I probably should, I could go in and add extra clocks or a time zone converter.
Where do you find that?
This is in your mission control.
I just clicked on my mission control and it doesn't show that.
Okay, try doing a 3-finger swipe to your, come on, where'd you go? Trying to do all of this in trackpad. Come on. Oh, you would do this to me today. There you go. Okay, so if you do a 3-finger swipe to your left, mission control comes up. It takes a little bit of practice. It doesn't always work for me on the first try. And then a 3-fingered swipe to the left is supposed to get you out of it. But if you're not doing it fast enough, it argues with you.
Ah, that's what it's doing right now.
Yeah. So if it's going fast enough, just try your speeds. It does take some practice to get used to.
Okay.
And then, the strange part is I have a magic mouse on my iMac, and those 3-finger swipes work on the magic mouse from Apple as well. So I will end up in mission control and don't know how I got there, or I ended up with an extra desktop, don't know how I got there, and it was all because I was finger swiping faster than my mouse, than my normal swiping on my fingers. But we can go in here to our mission control, and we can actually search for new applications, new widgets they call them. And we can translate stickies, Apple downloads. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if it will let us search here. I'm going to go back to the dashboard and see if it'll let me search. And I want a time zone converter.
Where's the dashboard? Is that in mission control also?
Hold on just a second. Dashboard. Come on. It's just, there we go. See, I told you it takes some practice. Okay, where are you seeing dashboard?
I thought I saw a dashboard on your screen that you had up.
You do. We have dashboard. And dashboard, if I get off of this, and you hold your function key down and hit F12, it brings you back to mission control, which is also a dashboard of sorts. Does everybody use it? No. Does everybody have to use it? No. You do what makes you comfortable.
Okay.
That is all entirely up to you for making it comfortable for your workflow. Make sense or clear as mud?
It makes sense.
Okay. What about you, Pablo? You doing okay? Okay, Pablo's doing good. Okay, so we've got mission control, and you can set these hotkeys up for anything you want it to do. First, make sure if I'm on the right computer screen before we go on to the next one. Your language and region is pretty obvious. If your native tongue is Spanish and you want to use your Mac in Spanish, use your Mac in Spanish. If you're trying to make sure everything is done in English, just make sure you're doing your spell check, because I know there's a lot of grammar and a lot of spelling issues that don't translate real well.
Okay.
Security and privacy. This is where you're going to go set up basic security preferences. You're going to set up your password in here. My password for one computer, because I've got two MacBooks and an iMac, so my iMac is locked down a whole lot tighter because it's got dual screens on it, and my kids seem to think that's an open invitation to come in and watch anime on one screen and play games on the other screen. That's my job, not theirs.
Right.
So you can tell it how long to be awake before it comes on and it requires a password again. And you can always click in here and change your password. I can change my password, or I can tell it I want to use my iCloud password, which is the same password that's your iTunes account.
Okay.
Which is a little bit safer, especially if you have a whole lot of information that you're switching between machines. And then, let's see here. We've gone through iCloud. Your internet accounts is where you set up who's your wireless provider. Actually, it's for Google, Facebook.
Where is that?
It's in internet accounts. It's your iCloud, Google, Twitter, Yahoo, LinkedIn. It's basically another way for you to get notifications. Now we can set up users and groups. And I can go in here. I can unlock this, type in the password for this computer, and I don't want to have a guest user, so I just unclick guest users. If I want to allow guests to connect to my, or allow them into my computer, I can set this up and have a password for it. I can set up parental controls. But since you guys are using a school computer, it's best not to let anybody else use your Mac, because it's part of your tuition. It is a major portion of what's going to get you through school.
Okay.
So my recommendation is do not let anybody else use your computer, because you don't want to end up with a whole bunch of malware, viruses, and other nonsense that can bog down and slow down your system.
Right.
So I can lock that back up. And now nobody can change it unless they have my password.
Right.
Dictation and speech, I haven't really played with a whole lot. But from what I understand, it allows your computer to dictate for you, kind of like the Dragon software does for people who can't type.
Okay.
And then you've got your date and time, which you can set up, and I'm trying to do it on the wrong computer again. And date and time. That just sets up your time zone, your date, your time, and wherever you're plugged into your internet, it should automatically be updating. So I can set my time zone automatically using my current location, but I have my location services turned off for privacy on this MacBook. I don't need everybody to know when I'm traveling around the country.
Right.
I do frequently, but do I need somebody hacking into my computer? And here's where I can go in and I can change what my clock up here looks like. Yeah, right here. I can change it to display time with seconds. I can flash my time separators. And I can make it a 24-hour clock versus a 12-hour clock. Now I'm in Civil Air Patrol, which is the volunteer auxiliary for the Air Force. So we do a lot of military time things, which is the 24-hour clock.
I'm retired from the Marine Corps, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. When they start making me convert to Zulu time, I have issues. So I have 2 clocks set up on my squadron computer because I'm their commander for the local squadron. I have to have 2 clocks set up, one for local time and one that does Zulu time or Greenwich Mean Time. I was so thrilled when our emergency services officer came down and says, okay, that's it. We're not doing anything at the wing level in Zulu time anymore. It's all local time. I'm going, yes, I no longer have to remember whether I'm 6 or 7 hours ahead or behind.
Right.
So, and now if I was visually impaired, I could tell it to announce the time. Frankly, it was fun for about 3 hours, and then I had to shut it off. And then you've got some accessibility, and Time Machine is a whole... Pablo, did yours start talking to you? Okay. So the Bluetooth is for setting up a Bluetooth mouse. You can set up a Bluetooth hotspot for it. and it's real easy to do. A lot of it is just coming in and following the directions on your Bluetooth device and making sure that your Bluetooth is turned on. And you'll see up here that mine is turned on. Oh, you can't see it on this one because I turned it, I showed it, but I can go in here. My Bluetooth is turned off because my mouse is not connected, but I could pair it to my iMac, which would basically show what's on my iMac. I could access it both ways. It does a lot of fun things that can get me into a lot of trouble if I'm not paying close attention. So that is a brief rundown on our system preferences. Does that make running through it and translating from PC to Mac a little easier?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Any questions on any of those?
I didn't understand what the time machine was.
Time machine is for an external drive, and it does really cool. Have you ever watched Doctor Who?
No.
Okay. Normally I get a lot more geeks in here for this. But I have to take control back of, have to get back onto the other screen. Okay, so I'm going to share my iMac. And you will see this little icon right here.
Okay.
It's called Time Machine, and it looks, you'll notice that they are very, very similar.
Yep.
And it is basically your backup.
Okay. Just turn it on and it works?
Well, you have to have an external drive plugged in. I recommend no less than a terabyte. And there are some, with the back to school stuff hitting the stores right now, is a really good time to get one. Once you plug it in, you tell it which one you want. And I do run my iTunes library on an external hard drive because each of those movies takes up a gig or more of space. And when you're working with a 200 gig hard drive, yeah, it's just not a good idea. I learned that the hard way, so take it for what it's worth.
Okay.
I'm going, oh, why is my computer slowing down? I went over here and I clicked on my About This Mac button, and it came up, and I looked at my memory, I looked at my storage, and the storage on my hard drive was maxed out, and it all came from movies. It was all yellowed out from movies.
Wow.
So I just ran over to Walmart and picked up another external drive to put movies on.
Mm-hmm.
Made my life so much easier.
Yeah, I see that.
And it suddenly, the 3D functions that I needed in Photoshop were working again. So we just tell it which disk we want to use. You can encrypt your backups or not. It's entirely up to you. I don't.
Okay.
So now that I have my disk selected, I can go to Options, and it tells me which one is saved, and it's going to notify me after old backups are deleted. Now when I'm all done with it, I can go say Backup Now. I can open my Time Machine preferences, which is telling me that it's right here. And it keeps hourly backups for the past 24 hours, daily backups for the past month, and weekly backups for all previous months. Now here's where the really cool part about Time Machine comes in. I can enter my time machine. Do you guys see how cool that is?
Yep.
I can go back and it just takes me back in time. I can pick
Nice.
a file that I want to restore, a folder, and I can hit the restore button and it restores it directly back to its original place. And you see it pops right up there on the desktop.
Mhm. That's nice.
So this comes in really handy with that with the student portal. Have you been in there yet?
Um, I don't think I have. I don't know where it is.
Okay, the student portal, since you're in CSS 101, may not have access to it yet, but it tells you what your next classes are going to be, what your grade point average is, and if we're lucky, I might be able to get into my student portal from when I was a student. So no. So what I would do is I would go to independence. Come on. And I just want to go to myindependence.edu. I can go to the student portal homepage. It's going to give you your username, which is usually your name and zip code. Of course, I would be smart and change it. So what I can do is I can come in here and I can tell by my profile, my career, my documents. I can add my resume. All my FAFSA information is in here. My academics is in here. This is where Time Machine comes in handy. You can come in here and do your degree audit. Now it tells you what term you took these classes. So right here, this tells me I took this class in 2011 and it started on December 5th. So I can go back into my time machine and find that backup for that class, if this particular backup drive went back that far, and pull up an assignment or a native file that I needed for a portfolio class.
Mm.
So if you can keep a date and time log of what your classes are, then you have a better chance of keeping track of what you need um, for your portfolio classes when they come up. And I know you're just starting, but Pablo, this is something you're going to want to keep track of. And it helps you come up with those files, because probably a couple of mods before you start doing your portfolio design classes, they're going to tell you you need to have all of your native files, and they're looking for Photoshop files, Illustrator files, InDesign files. And you're going to put all those together in a single folder, which is going to, in my case, I have it stored in several places, my portfolio original files. And I pulled them all directly out of my my time machine so I could access them. And this was one of my very first projects when I hit the first Photoshop class. And it's gone over many, many revisions over many years, but it's all my photography. So that's why they tell you to keep your original files so that you can watch your work progression and you can brain freeze here. Where did it go? Update your native files instead of recreating everything. See, you'll see I have my Photoshop document. I have my Illustrator document. And any logos that went with it. I also have the originals that you can see where it came from. So it basically went from this to this over a 3-year time span. So that's why that time machine is so cool, that you can time and date, that everything is time and date and organized by the way you've taken your classes.
Well, this computer's pretty neat.
It is. It does some really cool stuff. So any questions about that so far?
Nope.
Okay. I think we've about covered everything in our system preferences. So I'm going to stop my sharing real quick and we'll go look at our lovely PowerPoint. Okay, now's the fun part. Have you guys heard the rumor that Macintosh and Apple computers are virus proof?
No.
Okay, good, because it's not. It's the difference between water resistant and waterproof. Our Macs are more virus resistant than a PC is, but that doesn't mean we're exempt from contracting them. It's kind of like the difference of knowing that if you work in a daycare, you know you're going to catch every cold that comes along, versus being a stay-at-home mom where you're only going to bring in the viruses that your kids bring you, which could be everything anyway. So we have a couple of ways that we can get rid of these. One is never ever install Mac Keeper on your computer. I know Pablo's heard this lecture before, but Mac Keeper is a program that likes to pop up, and I'll show you on my desktop what Mac Keeper looks like. So Mac Keeper likes to tell you that it's going to clean up your hard drive. It's very pricey, and I have come across more students with issues using Mac Keeper than I have any other program. So if this little icon should ever show up here, you need to come in and see tech support and have them help you remove it. Contact me, I will help you remove it, but just don't install it. We can click on plans and pricing, and it shows up in a lot of places, and we just don't need it. I mean, they're giving you a month. We get free antivirus from AVG, which is AVG. I just want to search for it. We want the AVG free. We want the Mac, and I will copy and paste this and put it into the chat box for you guys. And you're going to want to install the antivirus and the cleaner. The cleaner is really cool because it will go in and you can tell it to scan for duplicate files. Be very, very careful, because if you scan for duplicate files in your pictures folder and you have several that are named image 1, 2, 3, it's going to delete all the old ones. So I don't do this on my pictures folder.
So we do want to load AVG?
Yes, you do want to load AVG. So we're going to just scan my Mac in the background for the cleaner, and it's going to show me how much hidden clutter I have on my computer. Now, AVG, the virus scanner, which is right here, I can scan my Mac and it just works in the background, just like it does on a PC. It will want you to be connected so you can have the most current, and that's just signing up for a free account. It's worth it. It connects both programs. And they are the best I've come across. There is another one that we use called Bitdefender, and it's available in the App Store.
Called Bitdefender?
Bitdefender. It looks like this one right here.
Okay.
And what AVG doesn't pick up, Bitdefender will. So if your Mac is having trouble, run one and then run the other. You don't need to run them at the same time. It's not like Norton and McAfee where they argue with each other all the time.
Okay.
The other program that is very, very useful and that IT has approved for our usage is Adware Medic. It is for PC computer, or not PC, but Mac computers. That's Malwarebytes. Don't want that one. Yes, we want this one, and I'll put it in the discussion chat box for you too. I think that's the right one. That does not look like the right one. What is the name of my... Okay, Adware Medic. This is the one we want. It's one word. No, that's not it either. It's a shareware and donationware software. Looks like my information may be a little out of date because this is not the... not the correct file I'm wanting you guys to download. I know the guys over in IT have a link directly to it.
So call IT and they'll tell me how to get to it.
Yeah, you can actually go into them from here in the Student Success Center. Let's see here. Down here, we have tonight Trenton in the Student Success Center,
Uh-huh.
and he can help you put that on there. But if I open up my Adware Medic file, which probably needs to be run anyway, should tell me where I can go get it. So there's my, it always tells me I don't have a internet connection, but I do, so it just reads it anywhere. I'm wondering if they got bought out. So go check with IT because it looks like they got bought out. But when it runs, I'm not surprised that it got bought out. Because they were running on donation software before. So I will go ahead and put this in your chat box so you guys can go look it up. So they got bought out, which is good for them because they were a donation software,
Mm-hmm.
which means they did it for their own use. And now that they got bought out, the poor programmer actually made some money off of it.
Good for him.
So, but see, it's scanning for my adware, and sometimes it takes a while. And then we'll go through and watch it remove it in a little bit. And depending on how much memory you have in your computer, what your processing speed is. We're going to view the results on the AVG cleaner. And it looks like I can clean up 1.3 gigabytes if I just clean out my downloads folder, which I will do later because if I do that now, it will clean out my Blackboard. And it'll want me to close down Firefox so I can just quit. There we go. And then it cleans it. Pablo, we're not really using the ebook anymore. They're kind of doing away with it. Do you need specific information? See, I got lucky. No adware on my system. Yay! I know you can get a used copy of it on Amazon.com. Pretty cheap. I know when I came across a really good reference book from a class, I would go to Amazon and get a used copy of it. So I'm not a real good one for ebooks. I will have to look that one up. It should be Office for Macintosh, the missing manual. So it'd be 2011, I think. Double check. Yeah, it would be the 2011. Office 2011 for Macintosh, the missing manual. I think if it will let me pull up Firefox again. Is this the one you're talking about, Pablo? This green one right here? I recommended a lot of books during class, but this one here, um, I actually do recommend this as a really good resource. And being able to get used copies of it for $1.90, $1.77 plus shipping. Okay, I'll turn it off. Zoom is telling me my CPU usage is too high. So that means it's just time to turn off some programs. So there's a link to that book. And let's see. We do have more than one web browser that we use for school. One is Safari that comes on your Mac. Then we have Firefox and Google Chrome. So if you download all three versions, all three web browsers, you have more of a chance of getting one to work in Canvas. Sometimes they Canvas doesn't like it, like a particular web browser like Safari. And YouTube videos don't play as well in Safari for Canvas. They just don't link out. And it's nothing the school can do. It's an outside vendor that does that. So, but again, security, security, security. Protect your password or protect your computer with passwords. It's kind of important. I harp on it all the time. Okay. Who knows what URL means? It's also been known to be pronounced as Earl. But then again, I listened to the Dixie Chicks and Earl had to die, so I'll stick with URL. Any clues or guesses? Okay, Pablo, have a great week. See you next Thursday. Sounds good. I want to hear how it's going in the new classes. So URL, and this is where you're going to really, really like me, Shay, because I'm going to teach you a trick on how to find things in Google searches. I'm going to make your life in CSS 101 so much easier.
Good.
So this tells me I can share. Come on, there we go. Okay. Okay. So I want to define what URL means. I need a definition for it. So I can go up here in my search bar and I can define URL. Uniform Resource Locator. So since you're in CSS 101, you probably have some vocabulary words that show up on assessments or daily checkpoints.
Right.
So if you can't find the information within the readings, you can open up a new tab in Google Chrome, Firefox, or Safari and tell it to define that word for you.
Okay.
The other nifty trick that is going to make your life much easier is called Command F. And you're so lucky you're in CSS1 learning this one. So if I hit the Command key plus the F key, I get this search bar down here. So I can type in URL, and it tells me I have 2 of 47 matches. Now where this really gets interesting is I can come in here and I can type in or copy and paste, uniform. Tells me I have 14 matches. And I can go through all of them. Here's the very wacky part. Did you know all of your tests and daily checkpoints are open book? Well, they are. And the really cool part about this is when you're in a daily checkpoint and you know you have read that information over and over and over again and you cannot find it, you can copy and paste either the answer or a portion of the question that you're looking for into the Command F search bar down here, and it will find it in the readings in Canvas. Have I just blown your mind?
So Command F, right?
Yep. So let's go into Canvas, and I will show you how that works. Okay, so I'm going into my courses. And I can go into my modules. And I can go into my readings and tools. The really cool part about this is that it works in Word, it works in PowerPoints, it works in PDF files, works on websites, and any transcripted videos that we've got. So if you're going through and you've got a transcript, you see a video link and there's a transcript underneath it, the TED Talks are really good for this one. You can go search for the information that you need. So here I've got this great PDF. I'm going to do a Command 5 or not, website, and I want to look up let's try BMP. So bitmap or BMP tells me I've got one of two matches. But I still have my class folder or my class tab open, so I can switch between the two. So when you're taking a test or a daily checkpoint, just make sure you have all your readings and tools or your textbook open, and then you can use that Command F function to find what you need so that you can get the best grade possible. Because I know you're reading the information, but let's face it, at 9 o'clock at night on Saturday, everybody freaks out, can't remember the answers to the questions, even though they've read it 6 times during the week and they're about ready to pull their hair out. I speak from experience. As you see me give you, it can't see me give you a cheesy grin. I did not learn about this shortcut until my 400 level classes.
Wow.
You're getting it early, use it well, and use it wisely.
Yeah.
Because it really does make those daily checkpoints a lot less harrowing if you can come in, read it, and if it's a true and false one, they're misleading. I hate true and false questions.
I've noticed that.
They're horrible. The difference between and or could mean the difference between a passing grade and failing the checkpoint for the day.
Right.
And let's face it, those 5 points of extra, or those 15 points of extra credit a week, they can be very handy. So that is the biggest tip that I think will help you probably the most early on in your degree program.
What does Command F stand for? What is the F? What is it?
Find.
Find? Okay.
That's the acronym I use for it. There isn't really an acronym for every shortcut we have, but they are, some of them I make up my own. Command C is for copy. Command V is for paste, but I always
Right.
remember the V because the tip of the glue bottle on the kids' Elmer's glue is a V shape.
Uh-huh.
So that's how I remembered it when I was a
Oh,
kid.
really?
Huh?
Command B is paste?
Paste, yes. And I've actually got some nifty shortcuts. We've gone over the web browsers. We'll go over Spotlight in a minute. Going over the dock. Here's your shortcuts. Shift Command 4, if you hold all three of them down, lets you take a screenshot. So why don't you try it with these shortcuts?
Okay. Just command 4.
Shift Command 4. You'll hear a little camera sound in your computer. And you'll get a crosshairs where you can draw a box.
Yes, I got it.
Did you hear the camera go off?
I didn't hear the camera, but I've got the crosshairs.
Okay, now draw your box.
Okay.
There
Oh,
you
now
go.
the camera went off.
Yep.
I see. It saved it.
Yeah, it'll put it directly onto your desktop.
Yep.
And Shift Command 3 does an entire screen. So you'll see here in the Command C for copy, Command X is for cut, and I always think of the X as a little pair of scissors.
Mm-hmm.
Command Z is for undo. I kind of look like, it was just easy to remember for me. I need to add a few more to this, like Command F. So yeah, there's some very nifty pieces.
And Shift Command 3 is oh,
Is a
wow.
full it's a full page.
Yep. I like.
I do too, especially when your instructor is going through 90 pages of slideshow.
And you have to remember it all.
Right, and it's a very quick and easy way to take notes.
That is a lot easier because I've been writing them out.
I've done that, and I've had instructors show me, send us the PowerPoints that they use to teach a class. I found that taking my screenshots was an easier way for me to do it. And this exception, I've got an exception trace report going on in my Blackboard, so Blackboard is not functioning for me correctly. So I'll just put that down, that Command plus F is for find. So there are a lot of things that you can do, and there's actually a document. See if I can find it. This link here directly from Apple is an article on all the shortcuts that your Mac does that makes your life easier.
Where is that?
I just put it in your chat box.
I don't, my chat box is, I don't see anything in my chat box.
Okay, click on your Blackboard in your dock, the little circle with the triangle things.
Circle with the triangle thing.
You may not be seeing it. Hold on. I'm sending you a request to control your desktop.
Okay. Just click yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it looks like you accidentally minimized your view. So to reset that, you can restore default layout, and there is the link, and if you click on it,
Okay.
it opens up directly into your default web browser. And it gives you the keys. Yeah, because who would think that this stands for option, honestly?
Yeah.
But this article here, if you can print it off, you can also do a search for them, and it'll give you the images. But once you know what those little symbols mean, it makes it a whole lot easier to figure out that this is option versus control.
Mm-hmm.
And I see shift, I think of up arrows.
I'll definitely print it off.
Yeah, and if you want to Google for it, Mac shortcuts, there's actual images out there that have diagrams, and they're infographics that make learning these a lot easier. But the big difference between your Mac and a PC is you take command of your Mac and you control your PC.
Okay.
So I was going to show you one more thing tonight. I'm going to stop the sharing, share my desktop. Oh, look, we have the same article up. Aren't we special? You see this magnifying glass up here?
I'm looking. I don't find you again.
Okay, let's go back. And I will request tools, application sharing, stop sharing. Okay, I'm requesting control again.
I don't see anything coming up.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to start my sharing. Do you see an icon that looks like this on your dock?
Looks like what?
Do you see my screen at all?
No. All I see is the Mac keyboard shortcut.
Okay, minimize your web browser.
Okay.
What do you see now?
Now I see you.
Okay, so this icon here brings you back to Blackboard. Do you see it?
Oh yeah, the purple.
Right.
Okay.
So if you can't ever see what's going on in Blackboard, that's the first icon to go click if you're missing something.
Okay.
Okay. So now do you see this little magnifying glass up here?
Yeah.
Okay. This is called Spotlight. If you ever lose a file, you can type in a portion of the name or the file extension. JPG. Why it brought my calculator up, I'm not real sure. But I can go in here and I can, come on, stop that. I can I can show all in Finder, but it's found my printer. It's given me definitions for teratoma. It's found my file named Tera. It's found my user identity.
Wow.
And it's found PowerPoints that have my name in it, files from my creating my own graduation announcement, and it will even search through all of my emails, events and reminders, files that I have created. It'll even search online for references.
Nice.
So it's a very useful tool if using wisely.
Yeah. Looks good.
So it can be a lot of fun to play with, and I highly recommend experimenting with it before you get into the point where you can't find anything that you want. But I love the fact that it gives you previews of JPEGs.
Okay.
So I think that's about all I have for tonight.
Great. I've learned a lot.
I'm pretty sure
Thank
I've
you very much.
overwhelmed your brain at this point.
I took some notes.
I will have a recording of this up on my YouTube page, so all you have to do is go into YouTube and search for Tara Cowles.
Okay.
So it will be up there as soon as it's done processing tonight. So you can go back and look at it for reference.
That sounds good. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. You have a great week, and we will see you next week for more fun with our Mac. But this should make this week's homework a whole lot easier.
I'm also going to take that computer basics lab at 9 o'clock my time.
Yeah, Trenton should be starting that in just a couple of minutes. I can move you down there if you'd like.
That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a great week.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.